There we go. Hello, I'm MC Toon, the worst rapper in the world. Again, on the bridge of the USS Enterprise. The with Kirk and Spock. They're out in the back there. So I've got Jack Zhang on the line here, but I gotta set up a little bit of something here because I don't have him in the meet yet in the system. There we go. And how you doing, right. Jack?
Quarantine's killing me.
Yeah.
I'm lonely, man. I've been dying to get out of my damn house. Yeah.
You're lonely. What's the name of the girl that you're lonely for?
Oh, no. We're not doing this.
No?
No.
That's probably fine, I guess. So what did you think of my my surroundings here? The Enterprise bridge. It's even animated.
Well, I can only see your green screen, so I mean.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody else can see.
Yeah.
I gotta.
It looked nice though.
Let's see. Pop out chat. I gotta get the chat going. I had the old chat up still, so I couldn't even see. Yeah. So all right. Yes, Glober Mommy. The irony of wearing the Star Wars shirt with the Star Trek background is it's kind of fun, I thought. So
I'm not. Oh shit.
I sent an invite to Jon Puckett, who last week could not click a link, and then got so confused. This was great. He thought he actually went to the video on his phone for the live stream that I was doing. And then at the top of the phone in YouTube, there's a little go live button. Everybody has this, right? And he hit that. Mm-hmm. And it said, well, you don't have enough subscribers to go live. Which he doesn't. He had, I think, 0 subscribers, right? If you don't make videos, then you don't have subscribers. You need at least 1,000 subscribers to do live streams from your phone. Now, he thought that was me somehow blocking him from joining the live chat. So he thought that if he hit the little live stream button at the top of the video while watching my video, that he'd pop in through the magic of something. Even though I sent him a Google Meet link that he didn't click. He wouldn't click. And then he posted this link as like some sort of evidence that we were trying to hack him. So, yeah, John has disappeared. He's not even on Facebook lately. So, don't know what that is. Oh, he's vegan. Can't have Google Meets.
Oh.
Oh. So you're in quarantine.
Yep.
We are.
Well, I'm not sick, but we're not allowed out.
You know, yeah, they're in Minnesota here. It's not aggressively enforced, right? So we can go out, and nobody will hunt you down like in Spain or Italy. But we are. They've asked us to stay inside. So let's see. I was looking for so I didn't look today at the number. So this is day 16 of quarantine in Minnesota. So what we want to see is a reduction in the new cases here. That's when we know that we've had like a turnaround. Oh, that looks good. Let me get this.
It's funny how the U.S. has more cases than China right now.
Well, yeah, and some people are thinking, well, a couple things. They didn't have the testing stuff initially in China, right?
Well, no, they've been aggressively testing people at this point now.
Well, now they have, yeah, but
yeah, it's dying
is
down.
It under control there, or?
Oh, it's definitely dying down. I mean, they cracked down hard on Hubei.
Yeah. Hubei. All right, so what's Hubei? When we say Wuhan, what's the proper pronunciation?
Hubei is the province and Wuhan is the city.
Okay. So you don't pronounce the W like we do.
It's a very soft W.
Yeah. All right, so here's the Minnesota stats. And this is the important thing. Number of confirmed cases. You see that graph going up to the right, and then across the bottom you see this, I don't know, is that green? The positive people that have tested positive. And you can see the most recent one here for today, is less than yesterday. That's what we want to see. Now, we don't know what tomorrow brings yet, but if tomorrow is another drop in active cases, there you go. That's what we want to see. So, let's see. Italy, both Italy and so there's a post on Medium. I don't know if people have all read that. I read it. It was really good. Doing a lot of analysis of the quarantine and how effective it was. So let's see. Let's go to world and I want to look at Italy here quick because they're more than 15 days in. And I think they're getting it under control, right? They went past their ability to handle people. Oh yeah, you can see this is the daily new cases here. And the March 21st was their peak day. And now they've had several days of declining numbers. And that's what you want to see. Ooh, Geistview has... All right, Geistview. You get that map. Johns Hopkins. Oh no, the tracker's currently undergoing maintenance. You may experience disruption. Thunderfoot's doing a daily update. Citizen 9. The Chinese are much more obedient when told to stay indoors. In the West, the folks just think the rights are being abused. So,
yeah, that's definitely a thing. No, the thing is, we got hit pretty hard by SARS back in the 2000s, and that basically scared us into implementing some better.
Yeah, I saw like Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Singapore were pretty. All right, that's not loading. They're pretty aggressive. So now, I have, let's see, 3 people that I know have been positively tested. Friends of the family. They have, so the wife, she's a nurse, so not really much of a surprise. She has pneumonia, and let's see, this was from Saturday, so I haven't gotten an update from Saturday. And her husband was better, no pneumonia, but still pretty bad. And they have a senior in high school daughter. She tested too positive. And then their older daughter is out of state. So I know them well. I went to the graduation party for their older daughter. My kids and their kids have been good friends. Their younger daughter used to do Ultimate. I coach Ultimate, so I didn't coach her, but she used to play. So Geistview says reload the page. We'll see if it loads up.
I'm reading the chat. There's something about Canadian bacon I don't understand.
Yeah, some people don't like Canadian bacon and pineapple on pizza. It's a little weird. So, speaking of pizza, you know that this trend that I'm starting about eating pizza with chopsticks. So, I'd appreciate, especially from you, Jack.
Bruh, no.
If you helped on this trend, I'm trying to start.
No. There's some things you don't eat with chopsticks. Pizza is one of them.
Oh, you are not.
I can. I don't want to.
You are not helping me.
No. That is not a good trend.
All right, people. Send me pictures of you eating pizza with chopsticks, and I'll put them on some videos for you. So, all right, there's a heat map. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, the United States is covered pretty thick there. Wow, it zooms in a lot. Oh man. Yeah, I mean, it's no surprise. The whole East Coast there, New York, is all messed up. Now I've seen people claiming it's fake. They're like, I went to the hospital in West Virginia and it's not full. Good. Good. That's a good thing. You know, if you don't learn from the past, what are you going to do? You're going to repeat the mistakes. So you look at Italy, they got past their ability to put people in beds and put ventilators on them. So you got to get ready, and that's what they've been doing. I think it's great. So, oh, you can click on the red bubbles to get info. All right. Does it like have their name and their address and?
Oh yeah, that reminds me.
Yeah.
Because all the new cases in Taiwan, which is where I'm from, all the new cases right now are people returning from overseas, like from Europe and North America.
Yeah.
So
They
basically,
got them on the plane or something.
yeah. No, like they got the disease while they were in the States or in Europe, and like they flew back not knowing they were sick or flying back with the explicit purpose of just getting treatment here.
Oh.
I mean, as in back
Here.
home. Yeah.
Were you born in Taiwan?
I was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, still here, for you is Taiwan.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah. Like here, literally speaking right now is southern Canada,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm from Taiwan.
Let's see. I'm trying to find. I can't. I'm a little colorblind, so the red. Okay, I can find the red for Hennepin County. I'll do that. I couldn't find the red for over on the east side of Minneapolis. So yeah, confirmed 204, active 199. So quit asking me to sprinkle them chesticles, says MC Toon. Yes, as well as favorite foods and whether they like long walks on the beach. Is that about pizza, right? Canadian bacon and pineapple pizza.
We don't like pineapple pizza. Is that a stereotype that I'm not aware of?
I love Canadian bacon and pineapple pizza.
No one in Canada that I know of likes pineapple on pizza.
Really? But I do know
I've never met one.
I do know what people in Canada like. Ketchup to potato chips. Right? Do you like
but
them?
they don't look like that.
This is from Canada.
I've never seen that brand. I wouldn't buy that.
Punchy brought these to me.
Nah.
He's from Winnipeg.
Oh, Winnipeg. Peasants.
Oh, I get it. Quit asking me to sprinkle. My goodness. You don't have a short name. Quit asking me to sprinkle them chesticles. I don't know what to call you. No, the info about them when you click on the bubble. Yes, you click on the bubble. For the cases, you find out if they like long walks on the beach and their favorite food. I got it. All right. Well, we were not going to just talk about this tonight.
Yeah.
We were going to talk about science without a flat earther here because so far John has not shown up and we don't think he will. So, what do you think? Did you have a couple things and ideas?
Sure, yeah. Like just a bunch of common misconceptions that I've come across, I suppose.
Sure.
Like whenever, just start right now, or. Okay. So here's the one that I always hear, and it's always has to do with this little terminology thing, the difference between a scientific theory and a law. And it drives me up a wall because I actually saw this documentary a month back in the 2000s. I think it was Dover. They had a major lawsuit where the school board forced their biology teachers to teach, what was it? Intelligent design, which is this bullshit nonsense that's trying to get around evolution. And their argument was basically evolution is just a theory. If it was a proven fact, that it would be a law, which is not how it works at all. So I figured I'd go into a little more detail here.
Sounds good.
Because like the textbook answer is a little much, and frankly I think it misses the point in a lot of cases. So here, let me just grab some real quick, because I wrote up an entire thing about this, so I might just refer to myself for notes, because I don't feel like doing this all over from scratch again. Here, give me one sec.
So crashes, and
Yep.
Factard are having a debate about whether or not Canadian bacon is truly bacon or just disguised ham. And I get to moderate this debate. So
Okay.
there we go.
All right. Let me just pull back. Okay, so I guess I'll just present wherever I want, or
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, let me just pull up present now. The thing would actually pull up for me.
Man, devil. Imagine being a science teacher and the school tells you you have to teach intelligent design.
Welcome to the U.S. All right, so you guys can see my screen, right?
Yep.
All right, so here, just, let me see if I can actually just type this down. Hey, great. Now if I can only make the font a little bigger.
Oh. Okay. I'll be out in a second.
One sec.
So I'm going to hand this to you for a minute, Jack,
Cool.
because I have a kid
Yep.
that needs a tooth
Mhm.
pulled out.
So
Okay. Let's see. I'm going to have to go find my biggest pliers and
Okay, just start from
Factard. It's not a debate. I have recipes. So, all right. You're going to be full screen. It's all on
Sure.
you. Right, I'm looking
Okay.
at the number of concurrent viewers, and if it goes down, it's your fault.
Okay,
Just saying.
cool.
Just saying. All right. So,
Okay.
all right. Here you go.
All right. So I guess we'll start by just explaining the basics of what a theory is. So it's more or less, here, if I could just list a couple bullet points. How did I do that? Nope, that's not what I wanted to do.
Oh yeah,
Bullet point, please. Thank you. All right. So it's what's known as basically our most accurate description of some physical phenomena. So in other words, what we see in nature, like say the fact that biological tissue consists of things like cells, and we describe that with cell theory. So we're describing something that we know exists, and I think that's a very important point. It's the premise is a known observable occurrence. So it's not like we're just creating hunches in our mind about what a theory is. Like, oh, gravity is just something I came up off the top of my head. It's something that we can actually observe and measure. And one of the basically one of the what's the word I'm looking for? Prerequisites for a description to become a theory is it has to have what's called predictive powers. In other words, I can define certain properties of this phenomenon, and then be able to say, okay, because I know how this behaves, I can derive properties and then test those properties to see if they actually occur in real life. So let's just do a really quick example, which would be Newtonian gravity. So I'll just do a quick little lesson on logic, I suppose, while I'm at it. So here, we'll do Newtonian gravity. So there's that are called axioms. And what an axiom is, it's basically a statement that you take to be true. So in pure logic and mathematics, this would just be any old statement. So just as an example, given. A, B, or yeah. If A is equal to B and B is equal to C, then A is equal to C. Like that would be a very basic axiom that we could derive mathematical systems from. So let's just apply this to something like gravity, because this is a recurring topic in the ongoing flat Earth debate, which shouldn't be a debate because anyone with a basic education should know why this argument of a flat Earth is wrong. But I suppose common knowledge isn't all that common anymore. So, for example, we can say forces are things that change the velocity of objects. They are done between one object and another. So, between objects. They are additive, meaning that I can have multiple forces acting on a single object, and then we can sum them to get the net effect. So, forces are additive. And a force is proportional to mass and acceleration. So let's just use this very basic set of axioms and try and derive something. So first of all, what we can derive from our first axioms is that
can I interrupt just for a second?
Yeah, go for it.
Success. There you go.
No,
There's the tooth.
that is wrong. That is wrong on so many different levels.
I didn't use the pliers.
That is wrong.
All right, continue.
Okay. So what we can say is, let's first of all say that a force exists, and that's what this. It looks like a backwards E. That it means something exists. It's done between objects. Forces are additive. So what we can say is that a net force, F net, is equal to the sum of all forces indexed by I, and up to n times or n number of forces. And here we get a very famous law, Newton's second law, actually. So what we say is that F is equal to some constant of proportionality times mass times acceleration. Now, the way that this is taught in physics classes, and it's why that this might seem a little foreign to some people, is F is equal to ma. So why isn't there a c there? Basically, a constant of proportionality is there to get your units to match up. Sorry, wires tangled here. And so because we define the SI units, Newton, in terms of kilograms and meters per second squared, then that constant proportionality is actually just 1, which is why we can just sort of eliminate it, because it doesn't do anything. Now let's come up with some more axioms and derive something else that we might also be familiar with. So because we just said that forces, they cause acceleration, which we define as a change in velocity, well, what that sort of implies is that if the net force is 0, then we can derive from this that the change in velocity with respect to time is also 0. And this is better known as Newton's first law. So this is basically a very boring example of what I'm trying to get at here. Laws, they're not separate from theories, and more importantly, a theory doesn't become a law when you prove it. Laws are based on principles that we observe empirically. There's things we just take to be true because we can see them occurring. And then we derive properties, and basically we derive these properties logically using those first principles, and those properties are what we call scientific laws. So Newton's first law is just a derivation of the axioms of linear motion. Newton's law of universal gravitation, that isn't actually all that universal, is just a derivation of the axioms of gravitational axioms. And so it's not like we had to prove it. We knew that matter was attracted to other matter. We know that forces cause acceleration. And then we derive from first principles these descriptions, and some of them are named laws and some of them are not. So let me just try and find an example of a derivation that is not known as a law, which should be trivial easy.
Could you explain, just for clarity, what is a first principle?
Okay, so let's put it this way, okay? We like to ask the question, why does some effect occur? So, given some effect, what causes it? What cause leads to the effect? And then we can keep going on and on and on. There'd be some cause for this, and so on and so forth. Now, there's basically three ways that this can go. You can have an infinite amount of regression. In other words, a cause is caused by a cause, which is caused by another cause, and so on and so forth. And this goes on infinitely. It can get reduced to what we call axioms or first principles, which are basically things that we arbitrarily, well, in logic, and we arbitrarily state to be true, and then we just go from there. Now, in science, our axioms aren't completely arbitrary. They're what we observe to be true based on what we see in the real world. The third option for logic is basically circular logic, meaning this is true because it's true. Now, obviously, we don't use the first or the third for science. We only use first principles because we only go far back as we can tell. That's why in physics we have four fundamental interactions, because we don't see these fundamental interactions being a cause or the effect of some other cause. They're just as far back as we can go, and we don't assume a further regression until we have concrete evidence of one. So does that explain the first principle?
Yeah.
Well enough, dude? Yeah. So the one that I always use for what's it called? A derivation that we don't just simply call a law. I'm trying to think of a way to explain this clearly, because I don't want to get too caught up in the physics of it and lose like half the viewers.
So a couple people have been asking questions, so I'm gonna
Yeah.
remember. I'm gonna write down some of these so that we can get back to them. So I see that one from you, Clive Wells. So keep going, Jack.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to give me a sec to like phrase this, I guess, because I do want to try and get this as clear as possible, because I don't want to stammer around with terminology that not everyone's familiar with. How do I want to try and explain this much?
Marty Moose crashes. That's cool. I'm conflicted with both Sean G and MC Tune are both live on which to watch. Having both at the same time is perfect. I hope Sean G brings Barney with him.
Oh, here's a perfectly good example of one. So if you're ever familiar with the universal law of gravitation, we say that the magnitude of the force is given by, well, it's proportional to the mass of both objects, m1, m2, inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. And of course, we need to have our constant of proportionality. Now, unlike Newton's second law, our units of force, Newton's, is not very well defined in terms of mass and distances. And that's just because our units for mass and distances are very arbitrary. For example, a kilogram is defined as the mass of some reference object. I think it's a sphere of some metal at this point. Although it used to be, I think, a palladium. I think that was held in the that glass pyramid building in Paris, but they've changed it ever since. But from this basic expression, which is basically the formal description of the axioms of gravitational theory according to Newton, anyway, like proportional to mass, proportional to the reciprocal of the square of the distances. This is the way we would formalize it in an equation. What we can derive from this is that when r squared is much bigger than g m1 m2, then the force of gravity is going to be very small. Basically, it's going to be it's going to be approximately zero. Now, that's not defined as a law. That's just something that we've derived logically, but we haven't decided to arbitrarily call it a law. And that's the one thing that I think a lot of people get caught up on. So like we say, oh, this defies the laws of physics or whatever. And that's a phrase that's very colloquially used, but I'm not a fan of it, because we've actually dropped that term in modern science, because we realize very quickly that what we're calling laws and what we're not calling laws, we don't really differentiate between the two. They're both based from the same first principles. We can empirically verify this derivation. We can also just as easily verify any laws that we derive from first principle as well. And so, for example, a guy named Schwarzschild, he derived that the radius of a black hole was equal to 2 gm over c squared, which seems rather, actually, I'm sorry, I think that's wrong. What was it? The escape velocity of a black hole is c, and so from there we say that r is equal to 2 gm over c squared. And that's not known as Schwarzschild's law. That's just a derivation that we're all very familiar with. another guy named Alexander Friedman took Einstein's field equations, which represent his the axioms of general relativity, and he gave three solutions, which are basically the three cosmological trends that are possible given that these field equations are accurate. We can have, I'll just draw arrows to each, a contracting universe, a static universe, or an expanding one. And then later on, we empirically verified that this is the one that actually represents what the real universe does. But the point is that given that this is accurate, all three of these can be possible. We don't know this as Freeman's law, we just know it as some derivation that some guy made because we've stopped using that arbitrary term law. And that's why if you look in modern physics, whether it be biology, chemistry, or physics, you won't see any new laws coming about because we just basically stopped using that term. And that's basically what I had to say about it, which is bugging me for the longest time that people kept bringing up whether or not something was a law or not.
Yeah, that's. I think you get that a lot of the time from flat earthers. They
Yeah.
they think a theory is a hunch.
Yeah.
And in common parlance, that's what we use, right? So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what were those questions? Because I don't want to ignore those.
All right. From Clive Wells, define an inertial reference frame, and in which frames do Newton's laws hold? Without making a circular definition, it's not as easy as it seems.
Okay. An inertial frame of reference is one that is not accelerating. That's very simple. So if you want to use, say, a plane that's in circular motion, that is obviously accelerating, so therefore it is not an inertial frame of reference. Something that has a constant velocity with respect to all the objects around it, it has zero acceleration, therefore it's an inertial frame of reference. Now, Newton's descriptions of physics, they work in all frames of reference, whether it be inertial or non-inertial. It's just that the math gets a lot more complicated with non-inertial frame of reference, and you will start to see what we call fictitious forces, which is basically where, let's say you're in a car and you're making a sharp turn to the left, you're going to feel yourself shift to the right. Now, I'm not going to say that there isn't something, you can't measure a force pulling on you to the right, but it's not like there's something that's actually like physically tugging you to the right. There's no sudden, change in mass that causes some gravitational anomaly. It's not like you attach to a spring that's pulling you to the right. It's just that you want to keep going straight and the car's accelerating to the left underneath you. Hence why you get what's called a fictitious force. We can still do the math to represent that acceleration and what force would be needed to cause an equivalent acceleration. It's just we need to be careful of these what we call artifacts of non-inertial frames of reference.
All right, so then Clive asks a follow-up, how do you define an accelerating frame?
An accelerating frame would be a frame of reference that includes objects that are in motion relative to it at a non-constant velocity. So for example, because if I'm going in a circle, my velocity is obviously changing, and so therefore I'm going to observe objects around me that are going to be moving relative to me at a non-constant velocity, and therefore my frame of reference is not inertial.
Okay.
I think the circular logic thing is people just go with the textbook definition that an inertial frame of reference is a frame of reference where Newton's laws hold, and Newton's laws hold in a inertial frame of reference, which is a very bad description. But it's what you get in introductory
could
physics.
be a little circular.
Yeah.
Walter Lewin, have you watched any of his videos? You know who he is?
No.
He's a professor at MIT. I think he's retired now, but he put all of his lectures on YouTube, or a lot of them. I don't know if they're all of them, but a large number of his physics lectures on YouTube. He's a great instructor, and so it's I think his physics 800 level class, whatever that is. So that's, if anybody really wants to get like a good brush up on this on your own at a good level like that for free, just look up Walter Lewin. I should find that. I subscribe to him, and he's a lot of fun to watch. Let me see here. And he's I think he's retired, and he's He's goofy. He's goofy. I love it. Yeah, Real Cygnus says MIT's best lecturer ever.
I don't know. I think I liked Freeman's lectures. They were pretty interesting to watch.
Oh, Freeman.
Yeah.
Who's Freeman?
Or no, not Freeman. Feynman.
Feynman. Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah, sorry.
His are absolutely fantastic. I have a couple of his linked on my website too. So, see, Clive Wells, why should there be objects in your frame?
Well, a frame of reference is basically just something that we choose to be the center of focus, so to speak. So, for example, a plane could be your frame of reference, and then we consider everything that's going around the plane, everything that's not part of that system, if you will. So, a frame of reference is just basically a term we use to describe an object or a system that we're going to focus on. Like, imagine a camera that's stationary relative to it, and then we do physics involving everything that's moving around it and also everything that's within that system as well.
Oh, so Real Cygnus says also he got the boot for bad behavior. Oh no, what did he do? Oh. He said plain flat earth confirmed. Don't think so. MIT took them down.
Oh no.
Wait a second. Was it recent? Because I've been watching kind of recently. He has a ton of them. A year ago, 2 years ago. Let's see. Going back, I'm on there. 5 years ago. Oh no, they're up there. They're still up there, people. So yeah, you can see all his. It looks like it's just a ton of lectures from him. So,
if you want a nice sort of like entertaining physics, I suppose you should definitely check out Minute Physics. He's a physicist that makes these videos on interesting concepts that will get people's attention. He doesn't go too far into the derivation behind them because obviously that would go above a lot of people, but yeah.
It depends on your audience.
But he does explain it in a way that covers the basics far enough, or enough for the average layman, I guess.
So a man like me, who is a flat earther who goes by Tony Taborn on Facebook, says they knew it was crap. No, MIT did not. So all right, this same a man like me, Tony Taborn, has a question for you.
Okay.
What do you think of a scientist that refuses credit for an invention? Would you think either he doesn't believe it himself or he is just being a dumbass? Newton rejected gravity.
Newton did not reject gravity. He published his descriptions of gravity. What do you mean? I think people get really caught up on quote mining because, I mean, for example, when I first found out about what's known as Bell's inequality and the experiments surrounding that, I was blown away by it. And I mean, part of me wanted to say, no, that can't be right, until I basically did the very poor man's version of the Bell inequality and figured that it worked for myself. And so anyone can say that, okay, this doesn't seem right intuitively, but that's the thing about physics. It's not supposed to be intuitive. It just is. And Newton did not invent gravity. He did not create it. He just simply published a set of descriptions that are very accurate for gravity. We now have more accurate descriptions, and we know where Newton went wrong. He's not the end-all and be-all of physicists that a lot of people like to make him out to be. He was a very bright guy. I remember this classical story where there's a guy named Bernoulli, and he's very famous in popular science because people like to attribute his description of fluids to the lift that causes an aircraft to fly. That the description is incomplete, by the way, but no one. I don't care about that Bernoulli. I care about his brother. He was a mathematician in Europe that was trying to make a name for himself, and so he sent a challenge to Newton. He said, "What is the path? What is the shape of the surface that would allow a ball or any object to get from one point to another that's separated by a diagonal line, given a constant downwards acceleration?" And Newton basically within a day found the answer, published it, and then just thought it was so trivial they didn't even bother writing his own name until he like a couple months later, I think someone later attributed his name to it. But it's known as the brachistochrome problem, and it's a pretty interesting one if you want to go look it up. But yeah, Newton did not reject gravity, and he certainly did not think it was wrong. Otherwise, he wouldn't publish it in an academic journal.
Yeah, and now, of course, a man like me has not responded to that, but yeah, I have seen the silly claim that he rejected gravity. Of course, he didn't. Yeah, it's a quote mining exercise. Something about I remember reading it recently, where he talked about a couple things. He talked about spooky action at a distance, and he didn't like it. But what he did is he's in his letter. It was a private letter to somebody that got published eventually, right? And he said something like, "The cause of gravity is an exercise left to the reader." Something to that effect. Which, of course, Einstein is the one that came along later and identified or put a little more meat to the cause of it.
Yeah, now people quote mine him because they assume that anything that comes out of a scientist's mouth is science. But what they need to remember is that you can separate the science from the personal opinions and conjectures of a scientist. For example, Stephen Hawking, he worked with a guy named Penrose, and what they did was they took Einstein's field equations and they derived, well, one to derive basically the principles behind the Big Bang. If you were to go back in time, given an expanding universe, what happens if we reverse extrapolate? And then Hawking did a lot of work with black holes. Now, Penrose was I think he was somewhat religious. He identified as agnostic, but he did have the odd religious statement here and there, and creationists just run wild with those things. He did not say he proved God did something. He said, I have figured out this physical property, and I think this is how God does it. So you need to separate the conjecture from the physics. The physics is what he published. The conjecture is what he said afterwards. He said, I think this is how God does it. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's so. And more importantly, nothing he published ever proved God. It was just him attributing his work to some deity.
That's cool. So Clive Wells says I was in Hawking's research group.
Oh, shit.
So...
God damn.
Yeah, Clive reached out to me a week ago or 2 weeks ago about deriving what was it that you just derived?
Schwarzschild?
Friedman. A derivation of atmospheric pressure from first principles and the general theory of relativity. I think that was the one.
Okay, well, now the first one I think will take a little while.
It's an hour.
The second one's gonna
minutes,
take hours.
So yeah, that's a pretty advanced stuff there. It's really cool though. So I haven't had a chance to watch that yet. Even though I know a lot of people are not working, I'm still working. People still send emails, and the spammers still send spam, and the scammers still scam. So
yeah, that reminds me. It's one of the reasons why I advocate for mandatory science education, because even if you're never going to use it in your field, like let's say you're going to go into accounting, it might prevent you from investing in a scam that's most people would not know it to be a scam.
Yeah.
My have you heard oh sorry.
My mom yesterday sent me a thing saying, hey, she lives in the country, she has a well. She said, I want to get a water purifier. So she sent me to this website for a purifier that looks good. It looks a little expensive, but I think it looks pretty good. They have more than just activated carbon. They have a couple other things. And then they have a water softener.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, how's that work? Because I see the picture of it, and it doesn't have a saline tank or a brine tank, right? And the what's the medium resin? It doesn't have... the brine tank and the resin tank. It doesn't have that. It has one tank and then a loop back for the water to go back to the beginning of the the whole filter system. Like, well, wait a second. And I'm like, how does it soften the water. It says we use the flow of the water to soften it so that the particles are crystallized and they don't stick to the walls of the pipes or something. I'm like, okay. And it also said, and we don't replace it with salt. I'm like, okay. Anybody that either doesn't understand how a water softener works or is lying about how a water softener works, you don't buy a water softener from them. Of course, my mom doesn't understand that. I look at that, I'm like, they're lying about how a water softener works.
Yeah.
It doesn't replace the minerals with salt.
That wouldn't help with the softening the water at all, really.
Well, you just have salty water, which you'd notice. So, yeah.
Not my favorite is Water Seer. This project to create sustainable sources of water for arid regions, and it's basically a souped-up dehumidifier.
Oh yeah. Thunderfoot went into that one, right?
Yes. Yeah, and it's funny because like I was seeing this because I'm a bit of a Star Wars fan, and someone posted on Core's questions like, how profitable is it to farm water on Tatooine? I'm like, not very. let me explain to you the physics involved in this. The amount of energy you have to put in to get that water out of the air is not feasible for most like developed countries. Like for an average household, it'd be too expensive. How do you expect to get that done using an impoverished person's wealth when he has like next to no infrastructure, can't afford basic utilities, and has very dry conditions?
Oh, so
But
hold on. A man like me, or Tony Taborn, came back and said, when you write a rejection down, you mean it. So, all right, I'm going to have to ask you, Tony Taborn, for a citation on that.
yeah.
So while you dig that up, I will pull up my Facebook Messenger, Tony Taborn. You go find me. I'll send you a friend link there. So, this Canadian bacon debate is going to get hot. Crashes says I have a 5 on Factard rage quitting and a 10 on him being a no-show. Oh. Tony Taborn. Let's see. Are we friends already, Tony? Yes, we are. So, Tony, you can send me in Messenger the link to to where Newton rejected gravity, as you say. So,
Oh, okay. Can you pull up on the screen?
I will if he sends it. Yeah. See, somebody says, does it have a carbon filter, Mike71? Yes, it did have a carbon filter, and a different filter in addition to the carbon filter for the water, for just the filtration part of it. I think it was a copper. Yeah, it was copper and zinc. So, let's see. I have... Nope, that's not it. I have all the stuff I sent. It's got a UV filter, which is good. It kills bacteria and potentially viruses. So, no, I'm not finding. Yeah, I didn't write down the specifics for it. And I'm not going to pull up their website right now. So. Yes. Thunderfoot's footage of the sun blew me away. Oh, yes. That was an amazing telescope view of the sun. Did you see that one, Jack?
Yeah, I did. The things you can do when you actually understand how to use a telescope, and just
instead of a cheap camera that you call a telescope and you lie about it. So...
No, it's funny because my university, we don't have a powerful enough telescope to do research with anymore. So now it's just used for student projects and just for publicity. So, I mean, if Sonny wants, he could just book a trip here, wait for the next tour, like whenever the school opens back up, and just go use our telescope. It's really not that hard to go find a telescope that works and use stars and stuff with it.
Yeah. But it said telescope.
Oh, of course.
The YouTube video said telescope. So here's the mindset. If you missed it, the video I just did, we had Sonny on. He's like, I don't believe this 1 hour uncut video on the ISS where people are tumbling all around is real. It's probably fake. But this other video that was not a telescope, but it said this is a telescope. It was a telescope. Yep. Little inconsistent there. All right, I'm not seeing anything from Tony. I don't think he can find that sound rejection of gravity by Newton.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm working on my cube here, and look at that. You can see through it. So, all right, what else we got? Clive, would you want to come on?
Who's Clyde again?
Clive.
Oh, the Hawking guy?
Who was on Hawkins. So, how did was it on YouTube? I'm on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Discord. So sometimes I can't remember where the conversation was. So let's see. Some of those photos were taken with an e-scope, I think, because you could see the secondary mirror in the very out of focus images. Yeah. So I don't know what an e-scope is, and so but you could see the internals of the mirror in there. So
I have a funny feeling he just shoved this camera into the telescope, like literally into the telescope to take a picture. I was wondering why it didn't work.
Yeah. I've seen so many of those ones that's just the P900 or P1000, right?
Yeah. No, that is not a good substitute.
Oh, a typo meant a scope. It was a scope. Oh, yeah, probably with the camera. So a telescope with the camera jammed up into the eyepiece, and it's the camera out of focus, even though the telescope probably is in focus. Yeah, but still, out of focus is out of focus.
Why would you jam a camera? Like, there are specialized telescopes with cameras fixed in them that are meant to take pictures of whatever you're looking at.
Yeah, why would you do that? Because you don't have anything else. That makes sense, right?
It's not going to give you a good image.
Clive Wells is going to pass his 5 a.m. Oh, man, you must be in the UK. So maybe sometime you could come on, Clive. It'd be fantastic. We could nerd out a lot. So on my Discord server, somebody joined. We were talking about comic books, Star Trek, Star Wars, and what else? Baking. So yeah, it's a pretty nerdy Discord server if you're into that. With the lockdown, I've been baking. So I made buns today for our hamburgers for dinner.
Oh, funny thing. I was calling one of my classmates, and like, she's like, okay, I'm gonna go bake now. And I thought she meant she's gonna go get high. I'm like, I didn't know your parents will let you smoke weed at home. I was like, no, I'm gonna go bake a muffin. I'm like, oh. I feel like an idiot now.
Oh, there we go. Solved. Still nothing from a man like me. I think he's got nothing, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. That wouldn't be surprising.
Yeah, Citizen 9. Those are the telescopes with the stars pre-programmed inside them, of course. To just blatantly say no, that's obviously CGI. When, like, okay, go get a telescope yourself. If you want to prove that it's CGI, do the same setup, right? And then map it out. And if you get the same setup, the same results, oh no, it's not CGI.
Yeah, I got an idea for like something we could do to lose brain cells.
Yeah.
I could present to you where I found Eric and the what really got me back into arguing with flat earthers.
On Quora?
Yeah, they're flat earth proponents, but just to look at all the dumb shit that they're posting.
I think that'd be I don't do a lot on Quora, but I'm on there a bit. I read stuff a bit, and yeah, that'd be good to see.
Yeah,
'Cause I
all
think
right, let's do
I
this.
got an invite by somebody.
Yeah. Can you guys see my page?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. A religious view of the flat Earth. I'm not gonna watch that video. That's gonna be crap. Now this guy, he's like Alex, the guy that was gonna come on. I don't know if he's going to because he's working on homework right now. He's one of my moderators for my space dedicated debunking bullshit science. But he and I got really upset at this man because he just posts so much nonsense and trying to explain some basic facts to him is like talking to a brick wall. So let's just read the first line. Sir Isaac Newton, who invented the gravity theory, had much to say in application of gravity in numerous examples. One body may act upon another at a distance through a vacuum without the mediation of anything else. By and through their action, force may be conveyed from one to another, etc., etc. Here he clearly stated that for gravitation to occur with one body acting upon another at a distance, there must be a medium. You literally just say that it can act without a medium. So good job, fucking Daniel. You already got that wrong.
This is Daniel Spy Glasgow.
Yes, that's got to be a made-up name. Because
Yeah.
he's got several aliases.
Yeah, that's definitely.
Oh, I love this phrase. In the celestial space above the Earth's atmosphere, in which space there is no air to resist their motion, all bodies will move from the greatest freedom, and the planets and comets will constantly pursue their revolutions in orbit by the mere laws of gravity. That was a word salad. That made no sense whatsoever. Yeah, that's just the level of garbage that you can expect from this man.
Yep.
Physics teacher flat max class. Oh dear, there's no way that's an actual physicist. I doubt that.
No, there's no actual.
No.
Just like there's no real flat Earth pilot.
Yeah. Uriel Anderson, this moron, I've had many arguments with because he said that there's no principles of motion described in gravity, and it's like we can describe first principles, but he's asking for what he calls principles of motion, and what needs to be made very clear here is that there's no such thing as axioms of motion. There's descriptions, there's definitions, and there is a big difference between a definition and an axiom. An axiom is what we consider to be true, and then we derive what happens if it is true. A definition is just something that describes what something is. So, for example, velocity is defined as the derivative of position with respect to time. There's no property there. It's just a definition. And when I pointed out to this man, he goes, "You are not a man of principles, therefore I don't see a point in arguing with you." Oh, good grief. Yeah. I can't. I actually just stopped bothering commenting on this space because it was like arguing with a brick wall. Yeah, I got better things to do.
Yeah, that's why I like to do them live because when you do something live and they just deflect and run away, it's apparent, right? Where it's online, they can just stop responding or come up with some different garbage, or like we've seen Tony Taborn here. He's not responded. He hasn't posted the the quote that Newton claimed Newton said. So
something that reminds me, when people tell me they've done research into science, like especially when it comes to vaccines, global warming, pandemics or whatnot, especially with the coronavirus right now, I always ask them this: what research journals have you read through? Because that usually returns with a blank face. They think that finding a newspaper article or some popularized science magazine counts as research, when they're usually written by people who don't understand the science. They're paraphrasing and they're dumbing it down so that the average viewer can understand something that's going on. And they get the ideas completely wrong. I remember a couple of years back, I think it was, there was this newspaper article that said, "Scientists have figured out a way to reverse time." I'm like, that sounds a little off. So I did some digging. I found the actual paper, and what it was like, so imagine some physical interaction, and you can measure the after effects. What they basically derived was a way of computing what the initial conditions were based on the after effects. In other words, you could play an interaction in reverse. They took that, the magazine took that, and they said that scientists have figured out a way to reverse time, and it just it infuriates me. So if you're ever going to study science, don't substitute a magazine for an actual research paper. It won't get you very far. And if you're going to pull up a research paper, make sure you actually read the title, the methods, and the data. Because Daniel Spy Glasgow, that guy from Quora, I asked him for something to, I think it had to do with the ether. And I said, just give me one citation to back up your claim. And he gave me this paper that had nothing to do with what he said, but the title misled him because it had to do with like a lensing effect caused by things in motion. And he said, therefore, ether. And I said, no, this paper doesn't support it at all. If you would actually read it beyond the title.
Clive Wells, my PhD was in black holes and time machines. So there you go, time machines.
I'm pretty sure that's an oversimplification, but
yeah. It says it looks like it is impossible to construct a consistent QFT in the presence of a time machine. You get probabilities that are negative and don't sum to unity.
Yeah, that's one of the things that comes up when you're trying to create a quantum theory of gravity, is that things just don't match up and you get nonsensical results based on our current methods, basically. So what he means when the probabilities don't sum to unity is that if I have a wave function that describes a probability of finding a particle within a given space, if I'm to basically square that wave function, I get a probability function. And if I integrate from negative infinity to positive infinity and evaluate that for all space, I should get a probability of 1 because there has to be a 100% chance of that particle existing somewhere. When you try and do that with quantum field theory and relativistic systems with gravitational systems that cause time dilation, you get probabilities that don't add up to 1, which is a big problem because it's saying that given all the space in the universe, the particle that we know exists might not exist, or there is a greater than 1 chance of it existing, which doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I don't do that kind of math. But I do, on my Discord server, we did have a very short discussion of which letter you use for the square root of -1.
I use I.
J.
Really? Oh yeah, because you're an engineer, aren't you?
Electrical, yeah. I is current.
Oh, electrical engineer. Yo, you have no idea. We crack so many jokes at electrical engineers because of their usage of J.
Oh, come on. Yeah, but how do you what letter is current?
Oh, but with capital I.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah. Yeah. J for negative, or square root of -1. No.
Yep. So, all right.
Yeah.
A man like me, do you geometry? He says. Oh.
To both of us, or like,
I don't know who he's talking to. Apparently, he's looking hard for this quote from. He says, "I haven't run. I'm looking. I'm on the wrong computer." To find the quote.
Why does it matter what computer you're on?
Yeah.
Requires the right computer, of course. I mean, I could just look up any paper that I know exists by just going to that journal or going on ARXID.
So so there's a lot right now. There's a ton of misinformation on 5G causing coronavirus. Tons and tons of people are making that claim, right? And it's nonsense, complete nonsense. So I found a bunch of people saying that so the 60 gigahertz, which is what they're using, 60 gigahertz is absorbed by oxygen molecules, right? Which is true.
Yep.
And then they go to this. The oxygen molecules then cannot bind to hemoglobin and people will suffocate.
That is not how that works.
Because it absorbed the 60 gigahertz.
All that means
photon,
is it's moving faster.
I'm like, yeah, it's warmer. It's slightly warmer.
Yeah.
So I found a website saying this, right? And so I'm like, it was oxygen uptake. I put in quotes and I'm looking for a bunch of different things, 60 gigahertz, 5G, all this. And I found a website of a naturalist doctor, an ND. which of course is
more like BS.
Yeah, the D I think is misused, but only, yeah, definitely, absolutely, slightly, completely misused. But anyway, so I actually I found the article talking about it, just making that claim, and I sent a message, and she responded, and we had a pretty decent back and forth, and like, it was a claim in the article, absolutely, and I'm like, oh well, if you're gonna claim that, and there are other citations, certainly you would cite that, or you'd be able to pretty quickly bring it up. And she's like, well, do your own research. I'm like, I did, and that's why I'm asking you, because all roads lead to you. Right? So then she started sending me articles of saying that 60 gigahertz is absorbed by oxygen. I'm like, I already know that, I'm not disputing that. And then she sent me 2 articles by other similar quacks, claiming the same thing, also without citations. So where's the citation? Where is that? And you know, she did cite something where they did some research, that sweat glands can act as an antenna for the proper frequency, which is between 90 and 95 gigahertz, right? Okay. It can act as an antenna. Doesn't say that it's harmful or not, right? Maybe it is, don't know. It just acts as an antenna. That's all that this thing. But they only tested down to 75 gigahertz. Therefore 5G is causing coronavirus. No. This study didn't go down to 60 gigahertz, so we know nothing about 60 gigahertz in sweat glands or anything at all.
How would sweat glands create a virus that we've actually identified at this point? It's a little ridiculous.
Well, how could it infect people in countries that don't have 5G?
Yeah, exactly.
And even more, even places that do have it installed, you need to have your phones using it for it to even be transmitting it. Which not many people have those phones yet, so.
Well, it's like this one saying by this guy who basically was in Australia, and he interviewed a bunch of anti-vaxxers, and he asked which one of them were doctors, and obviously none of them were. But like, he's asked this one guy, have you done your research? Like, how well informed are you on this subject? And the guy goes, oh yeah, I've done my research, mate. I made sure to educate myself on this topic very well. And the guy doing the interview goes, great. So was that research part of a 6-year doctoral degree, or more just Google and stuff? It was the funniest. The guy didn't have an answer for him.
Of course, yes.
Yeah. My favorite saying is, don't confuse your Google search for my degree. Yeah. I haven't even got my degree yet, and I can figure out what's wrong with most of these claims. You don't need a very elaborate education to figure out what's wrong with most of these.
Yeah. So let's see. Somebody said, Stringer News ones, nobody's using 60 gigahertz for 5G. It's all around 24, 36 in the 1 centimeter range. So and that's what, when I started looking into it, I found that, they're not using the 60 gigahertz yet. But that was all of their claims, was about the 60 gigahertz. So
what really makes me upset is like, my grandmother, so I don't know if I should really discuss this in public, but no, I guess here goes. Basically, she grew up in the time period where Taiwan was incredibly poor, and basically, her older brothers, they went off to school. They couldn't afford to send her to school too, so she learned to read and write and manage her finances all on her own without any sort of formal education, which I thought was very impressive. But the caveat is that she has no actual science education. And so the last time she was visiting me, she was telling me to be careful when I'm standing underneath hydro poles. I'm like, Grandma, what are you on about?
Hydro poles?
She goes, well, yeah, because you guys call them telephone poles, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, she goes, the currents going around in those power lines, they're very harmful for you. And I'm like, what are you on about? So I went and pulled up Google just to see what the heck she was talking about, and I see all these elaborate claims about how they cause cancer, how they cause your brain to get fried, and so on and so forth. And I'm looking at these, I'm like, most of these are absolute garbage.
Oh yeah,
because
it all is. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, like emitting, even if it was to emit a non-negligible signal that you could pick up, it's not going to do anything to your brain, for crying out loud. It's not going to cause cancer. It's not ionizing radiation.
So, a man like me says, when you write a rejection down, you mean it.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's backpedaling a little. He goes, I see a lot of scientists reject Newton's science. Like, are you trying to make room for yourself because you're not finding Newton rejecting gravity?
I do think that a lot of people get confused when they see that a theory has been replaced. Because I mean, engineers, they still use Newtonian gravity, but physicists do not, because we have more accurate theories that are just a lot more complicated to do math with. Like I don't know how much gravity you have to do as an electrical engineer, but I don't think you would ever need to use Einstein's field equations for some electrical system, because Newtonian gravity should be good enough
Yeah.
for anything that you would want to build. And
Ooh.
so you don't disprove a theory that's known to be accurate unless you can show that it does not make accurate predictions. The thing about Newtonian gravity is that while it does make accurate predictions, we have a new theory that makes better ones. And so we say that our new theory is more accurate. You can still use Newtonian gravity, it's not broken. So we haven't rejected Newton. We've just said his ideas were good, but we have better ones today. If it was broken, engineers would not use them for modeling the dynamics involving an aircraft, because when they're calculating how much lift that's needed to get it to fly, they can't use a broken theory for its weight,
Yeah. So let's see. Somebody sent thing here. The USS Theodore Roosevelt aircraft carrier.
Mm-hmm.
They got COVID-19 on there, and it's spreading through the carrier so rapidly that most of the crew needs to get off of it. So that sucks. They can't go very far. It's currently in Guam.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Glober Mom. I remember the conspiracy over cell phones use and brain tumors. So that is so prevalent that the people in the alternative health community take cell phones cause cancer as absolute truth. Like a friend of mine I was talking to, and she's like, "Oh well, cell phones cause cancer." I'm like, no, they don't. Well, yeah, they established that, right? Like, somebody just told you. Have you seen that? No. There you go.
I think I saw this one BS medical product, and they market it with basically they market these things with fancy sounding words that just come out as word salad to anyone who understands terminology, but sounds very intelligent to anyone who doesn't understand it. And so they said it was therapeutically verified. There is no such thing as a therapeutic license in the US FDA.
Wow. How do you verify something that way? That's interesting.
Yeah.
So much. Yeah, I actually have a video I recorded about two things. Well, one guy who thinks that Tom Hanks is lying about the coronavirus, so about having gotten it, right? And so he went to a California arrests website and looked up without logging in or paying, right? Just like it's like the background check websites, all these things. And this says, yep, we found one record for Tom Hanks. So the guy's like, oh, he was recently arrested. Like, everybody that lives in California will have the same results. So I searched for a few different people. Found them all, yes. Another guy says that Walmarts are going to be closed down and used as concentration camps. Soon. Very soon. He posted this like a week and a half ago and hasn't happened yet. He said it was going to be within like a week or so. So be looking for that video.
That reminds me of a conversation I had with like a guy from Beijing. The thing about him, it's very funny. It's like if you ever try to criticize China for something that they're supposedly doing, like setting up a concentration camp, he's very defensive. But at the same time, because the thing you have to understand about Chinese culture is we're very discriminatory towards each other. And so if you're not from a correct province, you will get basically memed by everyone else. And so I was talking about the people from a province called Xinjiang, which is this really poor province in northwestern China. It's this huge, massive desert, basically. And he said, yeah, there's a lot of people there that they don't like, China's government policies. And he goes, yeah, well, we set up concentration camps. There won't be much left of them anyway. And it's very funny because he'll say that as a joke, and then you criticize China's usage of these re-education camps, and he'll suddenly be like, no, they're not concentration camps. It's a very interesting dynamic at play.
That's nice. So, well, let's see. Oh, Richie from Boston.
Mm.
If you're not familiar with him, good for you. he is quite a horrible person. So, Richie is into all of the conspiracy theories, of course.
Yes.
Just go down the list. Yes. He goes on about chemtrails a lot, and just like all of them, he films the sky. And he's like, "There's proof." Like without understanding, the ideal gas law or any of that kind of stuff, and of course without having tested the contents of those things. So, but he's actually claiming that I'm gonna pull up his video. He's claiming that tomorrow, the internet's gonna shut off. Tomorrow, because they, the nameless, faceless they are going to they're gonna do that so they can round people up. So, and they're gonna shut off the internet so that people can't report on it. So, of course.
See, what I like about these people is that when they give an exact date, because you just know it's gonna come down, crash on their heads sooner or later.
Yep. So let's see.
The moment they give a date, they're screwed.
So share this. Troops going door to door.
Can they go to his door?
You're
please?
Almost out of time. April 1st. So I'll pull this up. Let's see. You won't hear it, Jack. So
yeah,
I will play it. But let's see. This is
okay.
From Boston, it's the 28th of March. It's the year 2020, and the downfall of America is rapidly approaching. I don't know if people are getting this or not, but
hunt down New Yorkers
seeking
normal. Refuge.
This is from Bloomberg. Rhode Island police to hunt down New Yorkers seeking refuge. Hunt them down. Cars stopped. Homes to be checked to enforce quarantines.
Yeah.
Officers
when it doesn't come true, he's going to say April Fools.
The crackdown. And meanwhile, this
nonsense.
is still happening in the background. This is what you're not paying attention to because everyone's sitting in their house watching television. This was this morning. This is happening all over the United States.
All right, so he has this video. It's sideways video.
Of course it is.
Like, can you? So this is a video of a train going by, and it's got a bunch of military stuff on it.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and therefore, draw all sorts of conclusions. He doesn't know where it's coming from. He doesn't know where it's going to. He doesn't know why it's going. He doesn't know what branch of the military. He doesn't know when they ordered it. He doesn't know anything at all about what's going on. But he has already drawn the conclusion that they're going to go door to door to hunt people down, and this is proof, according to him.
Yeah, he needs to look up what a non sequitur is.
Oh, yes.
United States.
That's got to be their most
Notice the large Bradley fighting vehicles.
logical
Those aren't
fallacy.
medical vehicles. Those are personnel suppression. This is what's coming. I don't know how else to possibly stress this to you whatsoever at all. The pandemic is a complete and total lie. You're being deceived. You're being deceived. The entire country is getting taken over we're at war, like they've already explained to us. They've said.
So he says the entire country is getting taken over because of this train and the virus, of course. And he says it's all fake, absolutely all fake.
I wonder what he thinks of an air show when there's fighter jets flying overhead.
I don't know. And he's got, so here's the deal. He's got 367,000 subscribers, 115,000 views. 115,000 people potentially got lied to about this stuff here. Yeah.
In my mind, if you're stupid enough to believe that, you deserve to get screwed over.
Yeah. So, does Richie from Boston know that trains carry things to places for reasons other than conspiracy? Mark Beisler, because trains never carry supplies to and from military bases. Oh, yes. Last year, I crushed it for April Fool's Day. That's true. I did have a pretty big April Fool's Day last year.
Oh, what'd you do?
Well, on December 26th of 2018, I had this idea because Simon Dan had a video that got really big. Mm-hmm. And so a bunch of flat earthers were saying that he bought subscribers. And another group of them were saying that everybody that opposes flat earth is paid shills by the government or NASA or Freemasons or Zionists or Jesuits or Satanists or Illuminati or mimes, probably mimes, or Rothschilds or Rockefellers or whoever. Just pick whoever random group you want to assign blame to. Getting paid by them to do stuff. So these two things together, I'm like, oh, that's stupid and everything. So let's do this. I got a couple people together, and I made a fake document. Mm-hmm. I invented a fake government organization called the Operation of Strategic Influence. There used to be a thing back in the 90s called that, but more importantly, there's a metal band called Operation of Strategic Influence, and I love them. They're a great band. So we kind of leaked this document then intentionally, but mm-hmm. before we leaked it, we did a couple things. I posted the dates of the albums of the band Operation of Strategic Influence in a live chat of a video. I did a couple other things along those lines. I also recorded a video, and up here on my wall, I hung up a, well, you're seeing the Starship Enterprise here. I hung up a paper on December, it was January 1st, and I recorded a video, uploaded it, left it private, and then on April 1st, I made it public, and you can go and see when it was uploaded. Also, I took a cryptographic hash of the text of the document and published it in a video done by Soundly, another debunker. Unrelated to, well, no, it was and not unrelated. It was at the same time he accidentally tipped over his camera so you could see that document ripped up in the garbage. Right? But he also published the cryptographic hash. I published the hashes previously in a different live stream as well. So all this stuff, because the hash, so that you can back check, right?
Yeah.
So, and then Planer Walk from New Zealand accidentally left this up when he went to the bathroom during a live stream. Mm-hmm. Nothing. This was in January. Nothing in February. Nothing in March until about mid-March, when a couple people noticed it, including Jaronism from Globebusters.
Oh, Jism, yes.
He noticed it, and he freaked out. So did Barnabas Nagy, Paul on the Plane, and Tim Osmond from the Infinite Plane Society went absolutely nuts. And, of course, it was all fake. But Planer Walk hid that video as soon as it went public, that people found it. Then, the next day, he hid all of his videos. And they went crazier. So then on April 1st, we're like, all right, well, we're gonna unveil the whole thing on April 1st. So both Planer Walk and I had a video he had recorded. I did a live stream explaining the whole thing. And I even had Tim Osmond from the Infinite Plane Society on my live stream with me, explaining everything to him. And of course, he did not want it to be fake. He wanted it to be true.
Yeah.
So, I don't know where my mug is. I got a mug. I got a T-shirt. So I made this fake organization. I made a fake seal for the organization. And I took a different thing and I modified it, but it's an eagle with, I don't know, holding stuff and things. And yeah, Planar Walk went dark. So anyway, on April 1st, we let it all out. It was pretty funny. And some people, even after all that, like the cryptographic hashes, you can go check yourself. They're like, I don't believe it. You guys are paid. It was you really are paid by the government. Like, and this is to cover it up. Like, no, I'm sorry. You're that gullible, you still believe it. Oh. So, all right, Tony Taborn, you're kind of getting where'd you go, man?
It's getting a little silent there.
What's that?
Getting a little silent there.
He is, yeah. It's what he does best, fake stuff. Cartoon is a faker. All right, I'm waiting for you to not be a faker here, Tony Taborn, and produce this quote from Newton saying that gravity is fake. So, do I have any more of those shirts, or do I just wear it on the regular? Well, you can order the shirts off of Teespring. They're still up there. In fact, I can put a link if anybody wants to be an Earth-shape field agent. Hold on, I'll pull it up here. Teespring.
Yeah.
It's in
I ran into a flat
videos.
earther last week, actually.
In real life?
In person. In real life.
Wow.
It was at a Canadian Walmart. He was harassing old women going into Walmart to buy groceries. And
really?
I wanted to get out of my car and go up to this guy and just tell him what I thought of him. But at the same time, I don't want to get sick because there's no way he's going to maintain proper spacing between people. He's going to think it's the virus is fake or something. I was not going to risk it.
Yeah.
Get the coronavirus just to piss off a flat earther. Not worth it.
So you heard him...
Oh, I heard him ranting. Okay, I'll be fair here. I don't know specifically that he's a flat earther. He is definitely a geocentrist. He does not think that the Earth orbits the sun. He thinks that the sun orbits the Earth, but that's almost always an indicator of flat Earth, so I'm just going to call him a flat earther.
Yeah.
I do love how these people cherry pick the science that they want to accept, though.
Yeah.
Like, have you heard of Kent Hovind?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, oh, the ideal gas law shows that the sun cannot form. Like, he ignores gravity, ignores evolution, but ideal gas law, good science.
So, Tony Taborn, they are searching. Who is they? He's like, read my last 7 chats. So, my goodness. Dude, if you're gonna make these big claims and not have any, I'll look.
What I find interesting about flat earthers is that they will accept each other's arguments wholesale without even thinking about it. But we're the sheeple when we actually peer review each other's work.
Do you geometry? How's it possible to see more than 10 miles from 1 foot of observation height? I don't know the name of the paper. What, the paper that Newton wrote? Principia? I see a lot of scientists reject Newton's science too. I'm looking. I'm commenting while I'm looking. That's true. They are searching. They are searching right now. I just got a call on it. Who is they? You have your own nameless, faceless they at your beck and call? I thought it was just...
not everything
it was just us.
That Newton not everything that Newton published was very accurate. Like, his theory of gravity and Newtonian linear and rotational mechanics, they're pretty good. They're pretty accurate for most uses, but his ideas on light and, more important, on alchemy were, just absolutely wrong. So yes, there have been a lot of things Newton published that we have later rejected wholesale because they're not accurate. Gravity is not one of them.
Yeah. It was a letter he wrote to a friend of his. Yes, we know. And you can't even bring it up. I don't think you quite know what you're talking about, but I think I might. Hold on a second. Talk amongst yourselves. Let's see here. Because I've seen that claim, that cherry picking claim, of course.
Yeah.
Before. In my notes, there's a lot of Newton in my notes here, so let's see. You're saying force equals density.
No.
That was last week. The guy, poor guy, he didn't understand anything. No, I don't have it in my notes. I had it prepped for when I was going to talk with Austin, I think, because I know he had been Austin Whitsitt back in December.
Oh.
I know that gives you a migraine instantly. When he says gravity is nothing more than incoherent dielectric acceleration relative to the inherent relationship with the encompassing medium. Gravity is just a metrical representation of an effect. Quote from him. What do you think of that?
From Austin?
That's from Austin, yes.
Okay, I'm wondering if he understands what half of that terminology meant. Does he know what a dielectric is? Does he know what a metric is?
He doesn't. It's a quote because Ken Wheeler said it, so he says it.
He told me he had a firm understanding of physics because he's on a board with doctors and engineers.
Yeah.
I'm going to sit next to
the engineer is a flat earther. I'm sure all of them are flat earther, and I don't know who the doctor is. Which of is any of the Globebusters a doctor of any sort? People, live chat.
Yeah, probably a doctor of like gender studies or something.
Don't know. Clive Wells is still in here. It's getting late for him.
Yeah. Glober mommy, Austin Whitson, whose favorite words are dielectric magnetism.
He uses those words like commas. Yeah, so the engineer would be Bob Nodell, who, well, we know what Bob did, right?
Is he the one with the pendulum?
No, the optical gyroscope. So let's see. I think it's worth watching.
Sure.
What Bob said. So hold
This
on.
guy an actual professional engineer? Like an
No. He's just a liar. so
Yeah.
Here we go.
Recently, we carried out an experiment to test.
Jack, again, I don't have the audio piped. You won't be able to hear it. So
Okay, I'll watch.
yeah.
Rotation to the Earth. If the Earth is spinning at one rotation every 24 hours, that means that every hour it has to turn 15 degrees. And if the gyroscope is mounted anywhere on Earth, it's going to drift. In today's 21st century navigation systems, they're using what's called a ring laser gyroscope. It is extremely precise. If we could simply get one of these ring laser gyroscopes, we would be able to prove once and for all that there is no rotation to the Earth. One of the people in the community actually purchased one for $20,000. But what we found is when we turned on that gyroscope, we found that we were picking up a drift, a 15 degree per hour drift. Now, obviously we were taken aback by that. Wow, that's kind of a problem, right? We obviously were not willing to accept that, and so we started looking for ways to disprove that it was actually registering the motion of the Earth and that it in fact was registering the motion of the sky. So the next thing that we set out to do was to encase the fiber optic gyro in what's called a zero Gauss chamber to see if we could actually shield the energies being generated by the heaven. And we were unsuccessful with that, unfortunately. So the next thing that we're going to try is encasing the entire apparatus in bismuth. If everything works well, I'd like to release it at the conference.
If there's not...
At a conference in Raleigh, we want to have proof there's no curvature. And if we can do that, it's game over. But the rotation is not looking good at this point. That's weird. That's so... We don't want to blow this, you know?
Right.
And we've got $20,000 in this freaking gyro. But yeah, if we dumped what we found right now, we would be, it'd be bad. It would be bad. So what I just told you is confidential.
Okay, I won't say it.
Thanks, Bob. They got a $20,000 gyroscope, and they were gonna. His version of science is you start with a conclusion, and then you try to find all of the evidence to support it, and ignore things that don't, of course. So they got this gyroscope, and they turned it on, and it measured a drift, a 15 degree per hour drift. And then this is the key. He goes, and we were not going to accept that. And right there, Bob has no credibility because that is not science. So then they put it in a Gauss chamber, and it still happened. And so then they're going to put it in a bismuth chamber to block the heavenly energies. And they're going to, they're going to release this at the conference in Raleigh. This would have been the Flat Earth Conference in 2018. Of course, they didn't release it then because they couldn't force the outcome of the experiment to match their conclusion.
Now, what's really bizarre to me is that you can even demonstrate not just the fact that the Earth rotates using the pendulum, but the fact that it's round, because the precession is going to change based on the where you are, your latitude. Yeah. So it's 15 degrees per hour at the poles, and it's 0 at the equators, and it's going to be somewhere in between, depending on where you are. If you're somewhere not on the poles,
it's a sine-cosine relationship.
Yeah, exactly. It's actually the same thing with like the change in weight due to centrifugal forces from the spin of the Earth, and I've actually measured this one myself just for fun.
Yeah.
And you only need like a glass like kitchen scale that's precise to the nearest hundredth of a gram, and you'd be able to measure these things. So it's not hard to find evidence of a round spinning Earth.
Yeah.
But
let's see, we got Schrodinger's cat has he travels for work a lot, and he's tested both, and I think he lives in Maryland and in Hawaii, so he's done 2 of these so far. So he has a precise enough scale and a mass that's the same mass where he flies. Charlie's asking why bismuth. I think bismuth is the most dense non-radioactive material, I believe.
I think it's lead, actually.
What is it about bismuth?
I don't think there's any physical reason. If it's heavenly energy, I highly doubt it's physics related.
No, yeah.
It's probably just going to be some bullshit.
He's gone with heavenly energies. He's obviously not...
Yeah.
Let's see, what... I don't remember what it is about bismuth. There's something unique about bismuth, though.
Well, it does form very interesting crystalline structures depending on how you
Yeah, but what about bismuth is so good at blocking heavenly energies?
Well, first you need there to be heavenly energy for me to answer that question.
Actually, all right. So bismuth is more dense than lead.
Oh.
It's right next to lead. It's immediately to the right. Yep, and then next is planium, which is radioactive, and astatine, and then radon. Everything else is radioactive. Let's see, like lanthanum is not, maybe, but anyway. I don't know. I don't know why you know. So here we got Tony Taborn, a man like me in the chat here who was gonna find this Newton thing, and he seems to not be able to find it. Instead, he's off on trying to talk about refraction and how he doesn't understand refraction, but thinks he does. So there are more than 5 types of refraction, and you don't know what either of them do. So I'm sorry, Tony. You don't. It's just arbitrary categories to say there's types of refraction, right? That's not actually how people function, right? You categorize things so you can talk about it, but it's not like that's not how it actually works, right? So Jack, there's they're like, well, there's looming and there's sinking and there's compression and expansion, and
a lot of that is just like different effects from the same like physical occurrence.
Yeah, it's effects of refraction, and and so what they found is that what was I saying? Oh, I'm sorry. I read a chat and then I get distracted. I gotta not read chats while I'm talking. So, the different. So flat earthers found that Andrew Young, who's a professor at San Diego State University, has written a whole bunch of stuff on refraction.
Yes. And
he lists 5 types, right? And so then they're like, they take it as a religious text, basically, right? And then they read,
cherry picking science.
And then they read the description for looming, and right, and they're like, well, they don't see in the description it's saying that looming can affect the horizon. It just says something is loomed over the horizon. They're like, therefore the horizon cannot be loomed. It's now a new physical law that they just invented, basically, because they read it, somehow kind of invented it out of there. So that's how it is. There's no you can't discuss it anymore. That's just how it is. There's 5 types of refraction. The end. So extra J.
Why am I not surprised?
Extra J. What? You're not a believer of heavenly electrohydrodynamic energies? No.
Wow.
Okay. Oh, so bismuth. It's got a low electrical/thermal conductivity for a metal. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
It's
also
I was watching some guy trying to work with it. Yeah. I was watching some guy trying to get bismuth crystals by extracting bismuth from Pepto-Bismol, and it was an interesting video by Nile Red.
Oh, it's diamagnetic, which makes sense.
A lot of things are.
It's immediately next to lead. And when it's solid, there are 1-0 kinds of people: those who know binary and those who don't.
That is true.
Let's see. Tungsten is more dense than lead. Yes.
Oh, that reminds me. Have you ever heard of a guy named Mark Sargent?
Of course.
Or Mike Sargent? Yes,
Mark Sargent, yes. Yeah. I saw him in person.
Yeah, he had this interesting video where he made a claim, like he challenged a physicist to answer these questions, and he got no response. And my first instinct was, well, I know all of my profs get 1,000 different emails from cranks every single day. So there's no way he's gonna waste his time responding to yours. But more importantly, he asked some ludicrous questions like, why don't we lose our atmosphere to the force of vacuum? And like, how do we send spaceships up and not have people killed from radiation when there's no lead shielding? It's like, you don't need lead shielding. Lead's useful in some circumstances, but also there's this thing as a force of vacuum. That's just made up. Try explain to them the pressure gradient in a pool, like diving down and getting increased pressure.
Yeah, that's the natural place where water wants to be.
Natural place.
Remember,
it sounds like my last
That's what
debate.
Gleam said to you.
The path of least resistance to an equilibrium. Well, thank you for that word salad. You still need a force, though.
Oh my goodness. So, somebody, here's how. I don't know why you're not on my Discord server, because you know it's definitely nerdy enough for you, I think. So David XP on my Discord server just watched your video debating Sunny, and you mentioned one of your sheep measurements from your website. It was the depth term of wool tum of a North County Chevoy ram. That's what I said, Chevoy, I think. He goes, Chevoy is often mispronounced. The actual pronunciation is Cheviot. I know this because I live quite close to the Cheviot, which is a hill on the English-Scottish border. So there we go. I can't pronounce Scottish.
No,
Scottish
I
words.
I can handle English accents when I'm meeting people from the UK. I cannot understand people from Glasgow or anywhere from Scotland.
Oh my goodness, yes, Glasgow. If you really want a headache, have you watched Dell?
No.
Beyond the Imaginary Curve?
I have better things to do.
Yes. Thank you, David XP, for that. And David XP, if you have any amendments or changes to the Scottish sheep units, please do send them on. Always looking for updates to it.
Is that an actual formal system, or is it just something you made up?
What? Of course it's real.
Okay, it's fake. Because here's the thing, though. I have seen some really ridiculous units in the past, and I wouldn't put it past people to make sheep units.
Oh, we got Citizen 9 in Scotland as well. So, yes, it's mctune.net/sheep. And, yep, it's totally real. Totally legit.
Oh, yeah.
So
it's sad when I have to ask whether or not these are real units or not.
I'll bring it up. Here it is. Here it is. We got Scottish sheep unit conversions. The depth, a wool tum. I just made this stuff up. I actually looked up like old Gaelic, Scottish Gaelic words, and just kind of picked. So one chass, or sheep area, is defined as the size of wool shorn from a 3-year-old female Manx. I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong. Manx Longton sheep when it's been 1 year since its last shearing. Note that it is not simply square sheep lengths. Because you couldn't make it simple.
I was gonna mention something, but now I can't remember off the top of my head. Oh yeah, I had an interesting conversation with a parent back when I was in high school, because we did parent-teacher nights, or not parent-teacher nights, grade 8 day, where all the grade 8s would come with their parents and we explained to them their high school experience. And I was a senior student, so they had me like explain some stuff to their parents. And one of them was very against the fact that math and science were mandatory for 3 years. And he was like, yo, when am I gonna use imaginary numbers or exponential functions? What am I going to need to learn chemistry? Like, my son wants to be a firefighter. And it was a real headache, but I think the real trouble that I had getting clear to this guy was what imaginary numbers are, because people take that term and just assume that it's just something that, you know, it's something that's just not inexistent, you know?
Yeah.
Because mathematicians suck at naming things. Yeah, try explaining number sets to someone who's not learned any math since high school. It's quite a hurdle.
Yeah.
Actually, since you're an engineer,
and it's Jay,
yeah.
By the way.
Yeah, whatever. No, I was just about to come back to that. Just because you're an engineer, it reminded me. Have you watched that sitcom, The Big Bang Theory?
Of course, yes.
Yeah, I recently went back to watch it just to learn, like, just to hear all those physics jokes again, because I realized that most of those jokes were based off of elementary physics, and it was really wonderful for me because I first watched that thing when I was in elementary school, and now I can actually understand the sciencey jokes. But the one that kills me was when have you watched the episode where Howard considers joining Sheldon's graduate class for a doctorate?
It's been a few years since I watched. I stopped watching when somebody cut their hair.
Okay, yeah, I think you wouldn't have watched this one then, but basically, Sheldon starts a PhD graduate class for physics, and no one signs up because he's quote unquote obnoxious. Couldn't be
He's going to
possible,
teach the
of course.
class?
Yeah, he's the one that's teaching the class. He's going to be the prof. And no one signs up. And Howard goes, you know what? I was thinking of getting my graduate after all this, or getting my doctorate after all this time. So how about I sign up for your class? You get to be a teacher, and I get to get my PhD. And the first 5 minutes of that class, Sheldon just asks him a bunch of weird questions like, are you familiar with the Brachistochrome problem? How would you find the ground state of a quantum system with no definite solutions? And just all these weird questions. And I typed in the comments, because this was on a clip on Facebook, I said, all these jokes are kind of funny if you actually understand the physics behind it. And then an engineer pops up and goes, the only joke I understand was a quantum system one. And I'm surprised because that's the one joke I would expect an engineer not to understand. Yeah, like, have you ever done quantum energy systems?
I have not, no.
Yeah. No. I do get that question a lot.
Yeah, that doesn't
like,
sound
what's
like
the
the types of things that we would have studied in electrical engineering.
Yeah.
So.
No, because a lot of people are like, well, what's the difference between like a physicist and engineers? You both have to learn physics, right? It's like, yeah, but there's a lot more nuance to it.
Yeah, we would learn how to use it.
Yeah.
Not how to derive it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I have to do proofs. I don't think you guys would have to.
Never.
Yeah. And mathematicians, they like to laugh at physicists because we're sloppy with our math, which is very true.
You're sloppy with your math.
Well, it's like I recall this one mathematician talking about how he was listening to a physics lecture about quantum systems using Hilbert spaces, and he couldn't make two heads of it, not because he didn't get the math, but because he was working with a vector space that the physicists never bothered defining, but none of the physics students had a problem with that because we just assumed a certain set of assumptions, basically. So there's this joke that the difference between a physicist and an engineer is like, just ask them to figure out if the light at a traffic stop is green or not. A mathematician would say, the light in front of me is green, the lights on either side are red. After I go through, I look back in the mirror, the light behind me is green, therefore the light is absolutely green. A physicist would just drive through really fast. If he doesn't get hit, it's probably green.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, a man like me, did you give up on the Newton thing, and you're just repeating somebody else's BS, it seems. So he's gone on to trying to talk about the black swan here. Which,
of course.
Which
you mean the black swan that was so heavily distorted that a straight crane would look like it was more curved than the Earth was?
Yeah. So to be clear, we've been having roasted swan for a while, but we ran out. It's gone.
Yeah.
So the black swan makes perfect sense if refraction doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
But
of course it does.
If refraction exists, then sorry. But here's the deal: in science, you can model things, and what did you say earlier about prediction?
They have predictive powers.
Yeah,
like I can test any prediction.
Exactly. So here we have. So a man like me. So then tell me how refraction does it. Here it is. So here is the two Hill, was it A and Hill House or something? I forget the names, but Habitat and Hill House. So here they are, right? So I need to actually clear off a couple tabs here. Just a second. All right, that'll help. So here is on a day that is somewhat normal, right? A nominal day. So you can see here this temperature in Celsius thing is important. This is the height above water versus the temperature. You can see it's rather straight, right? Which means it's a pretty consistent temperature. It goes. I think it's slightly. I don't even know. It looks like it's staying pretty consistent there. And that's what we see regularly. And there are several pictures that Bilbzabub 69 has showing this. right? But then, let's see, you've got the couple different things here that he did here. I gotta find the link. There it is. Okay. Platform, hill house, and habitat on a. There it is. So here is the same stuff using refraction, just like before, but you can see the temperature scale goes a little different here. You can see close to the water, the temperature is lower, and as you go up, the temperature increases. This is normal because higher temperature air wants to go up, right? So then you do have this short inversion thing here. But this is a prediction right here, and this matches what we see. You can see how that crane on the left side is distorted, just like in that picture there. Right? So you can go, and this is kind of cool. You can change something. I mean, you can go all sorts of crazy things, but unrealistic temperature profiles here that you wouldn't expect to ever see. I'll reset it so it goes back to how it is. So we have a temperature profile that predicts what is observed. And this is possible because temperatures do that. You have lower temperatures down low and higher temperatures up high, except in some cases here, right? And when that happens, you see some weird effects. And this isn't actually doing a whole lot up here. It's shrinking and growing the top part of it. So anyway, I love this. But what you can do then is you can go here, and now this view here, which is the pretty normal thing, we can turn off refraction, right? And that doesn't have a big change here, not much at all, right? But without refraction, you can't get what flat Earth would ever see. So let's see, turn on flat Earth. So here it is, flat Earth with no refraction and flat Earth with refraction. So the thing is, if you can ever see the horizon in front of something, it cannot be flat unless you have some wacky temperature changes, which are not actually possible because there it is. So you can get this to happen here, right? This is what is the nominal view, right? This is what you normally see, except, but I have refraction on and flat Earth on. And you see this steep angle here, and this is the key. It's 12 degrees Celsius at water level and 7 degrees Celsius at 110 feet high. So what do we know about about air and temperature? Jack?
Oh, sorry, I was reading the chat.
Okay, sorry.
Say that again.
So what do we know about air and temperature, right? So if you have cold air up high and hot air down low, what's going to happen?
Hot air is going to rise.
Yeah, and the cold air is going to sink. And so what you'll see is crazy atmospheric effects when you have this type of a situation. But we don't see that at all, right? We see just calm, clear, very little refractive modification to the view, where normally if this temperature profile was like that, it would you definitely notice it. But also you could measure it, which of course they never did. So let's see. The interesting thing is that on flat Earth with refraction, the ocean will actually rise above your local level line. It'd be like you're on a shallow bowl. That's right. If it were flat, normal temperatures, this is abnormal. You can't actually have this temperature effect. The horizon not only would rise to eye level, it would be above eye level all the time. So he keeps asking, how far away is the horizon? You're missing the point here, dude. You're missing the point. we can predict this on a spherical Earth. Not a problem at all, right? And the horizon is back there. I don't know. It's past 10 miles. It doesn't matter, right? But you cannot. Oh, I gotta undo the. There you go. You cannot model this. This cannot happen in reality for a flat Earth. Yeah, the point is the horizon is too far away. It's not too far away because refraction can affect the horizon. And that's the thing. You're trying to claim that the horizon cannot be affected by refraction. And that is the straw man. So there you go. What's the radius? The radius has been measured. I will give you 6 measurements of the radius. There you go. 6 measurements of the radius. If you don't like that, then go ahead and find the flaw in the methodology, right? mctoon.net/r. So, oh yeah, it's past the rig, 10 miles. There you go. I answered your question. And there you go. Clive Wells has the distance to the horizon for you under linear conditions. So there you go. But Oakley told you can't have 2 horizons. Oakley lied to you, Tony. So did Quantum Eraser. So they don't understand these things. So I'm still waiting for your gravity thing here, dude.
Yeah.
Your Newton
Same
thing.
here.
I'm not. Are you just talking BS? So I guess.
Well, we know he is.
Of course, we know he is. But Tony, of course, you can come on anytime. Let me know when you're ready. But well, Jack, it's been 2 hours we've been going on. So
Yeah.
for every foot, you can only see 1.23 miles away if there's no refraction. Yes, absolutely. If there's no refraction, but because refraction happens, Tony, you need to take that into account.
Wait. What do you say here? Wait. Yeah, gravity is lost. What do you mean gravity is lost?
Sure, yeah. From a foot of observation height, absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. You can. There's nothing about that observation that you can't do on a flat Earth, or sorry, on a spherical Earth. But this particular view, which is the nominal view, it's the view you see almost all the time, is absolutely not possible on a flat Earth because that temperature profile cannot happen. You cannot have a multiple degree Celsius change in temperature go in the wrong direction. Hotter air next to the water and cold air at 110 feet up. There would be a shift that'd be crazy. So Charlie went around with Kiwi for a long time about how a photon was produced. Kiwi claimed photons were only created by electron transitions between energy levels. What do you say to that there, Jack?
Say that again?
So Charlie says he went around with Kiwi. Kiwi is Nathan Oakley's pool boy, I guess. Went around with Kiwi for a long time about how a photon was produced. Kiwi claimed photons were only created by electron transitions between energy levels. He is wrong.
Right, you can create photons in a number of different ways. Like, what's he saying here that we just made them up? I'm not understanding his point of contention here.
QE. Yeah. So how else can you create a photon?
Well, one way is with nuclear decay, because when you undergo nuclear decay for some unstable nuclear, you're going to release some amount of energy in the form of a photon. That's not electrons jumping energy levels. That's actual like atoms breaking down. Now, electrons, they can emit and absorb photons, but that's not the only way to produce them. There's
about fusion.
God knows how many. Yeah, fusion's another way. Like nuclear reactions, they all produce photons.
Yeah, so
You could also
Charlie's point is that QE is wrong. So
yeah. I also have something that I just want to bring up real quick right before I go.
yeah.
Sure. Okay. So can you guys see my screen?
I'll pull it up. There you go. Yep.
So the thing about all these high altitude balloon footage videos is that they all use what's called a wide angle lens, and it's called that because well, obviously it's a very wide angle for its field of view, but it causes what's known as barrel distortion. So let me see if I can find a yeah, I was looking up what was the material they used to make photographic film for, but let me look up a map of barrel distortion just to, as a visual aid. Distortion. Ah, here we go. That works perfectly. So notice how if you have a flat line going beneath lens center for barrel distortion, it's going to curve so that it's a concave curve that opens upwards. And a flat line going above lens center is going to curve so that it's concave opening downwards. So what we can do with these wide angle lenses is just look for an image of the horizon when it's beneath lens center. Look how this curve is it's concave and it's opening downwards. If this was a flat horizon for a flat Earth, the horizon going beneath lens center means it would have to curve upwards. And we can do this with various videos as well. Again, you have like most of this the horizon is beneath lens center, and all the same, it's still concave opening downwards, which should be impossible for a flat horizon. And given what we know about optics, and yet it still exists. This is just a very simple proof that the Earth is round, as we say it is, using just some rudimentary optics. So it always like makes me laugh when they say, "Oh, all this footage is from like a barrel distortion, fisheye lenses." Like, well, if you actually understood fisheye lenses, you know why they can prove a round Earth.
Yeah, yeah. They like to cherry pick the pictures or the frames, right?
Yeah.
Where it looks flat. Of course, most of them when they post it like in a meme, you can still see.
You can actually measure the curve.
Still measure the curve. I love that.
Superimpose a flat line on it in like Photoshop or Paint, and you will see that it actually doesn't match the flat line.
Yeah. Oh, so here,
Yeah.
Tony Taborn, who got ruined by not having the citation for Newton, and now has got ruined by not understanding refraction, is now saying you just suggesting that we don't know geometry.
I know more about geometry than he does. Does he
and,
know how to define a tan function?
Yeah. Yeah. Tony Taborn could, without looking it up, what is tangent?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Waiting.
Let's see.
We're waiting. Don't look it up. Just type it in. I'll give you a hint. SOHCAHTOA. There's your hint. Come on.
From the floor you sit on, the floor appears to go.
That's his understanding of geometry.
Yeah.
Come on. What's the tangent function? Come on. Come on, Mr. Geometry. You're here to school us all on geometry. Waiting. Tangent function. I don't know. He'll never get it.
He doesn't have.
Yeah, he doesn't even know what tangent is. Probably. He's probably thinking that tangent is a line. Is right in him, right? He's now tangent is this line right here, right? I'm like, that's not the tangent we're talking about, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a function. Come on.
He doesn't even know what a tangent line is.
Nah, I doubt he might know what a tangent line is. Tell me how his answer. Tell me how you see 10 miles from 1 foot of observation height. Refraction predicts that. We already went over that, and you're like in a loop here. So I'll show you one more time. Right here, that temperature profile on the top there is what predicts. It's the model, and it's a realistic temperature profile, something that can happen. So there it is. That's how you can see the horizon more than 10 miles away from 1 foot observation height. Not a problem. Not at all. So
What is the small angle approximation for the sine function? Oh, that is a meme and a half right there. Sine of x is equal to x for
Yeah, it's
small
just
angle.
x, yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me how you can see the horizon 10 miles from 1 foot of observation height loop. It's right here. I'm showing you.
We're literally explaining it to this guy. Because
And
what you see is based on where the light is coming from, and if the light's path is distorted, you're not going to be able to just plot out a straight line, like a tangent line on a circle, because the light's not traveling in a straight line from a point to you. It's going to bend. There is such a thing as an atmosphere.
yeah, he you know the step one of the Black Swan is assume refraction doesn't exist.
Yes.
Step 73, when you say, what about that crane on the left, if they didn't show you the version of this where they cropped it out, is, well, refraction does that. So, anything there? Yeah. Did I see Bearded Devil's experiment he put on the pond today? I did not. For every 1 foot, you can only see 1.23 miles away. Again, that's a straw man, because that means assuming no refraction, right? You keep going with that, Tony, and you've just been lied to, and you've believed a lie is what's happened. So,
Plus, that's a linear approximation anyway. Like, people don't understand the difference between an approximation and actually like deriving something.
yeah,
They just take it to be true. Which is really ironic for people who like to use the word sheeple a lot.
yeah. Sine of x equals x. I doubt that very many flat earthers understand this or how to use it. They don't.
No.
Oh, here he goes. Refraction doesn't affect the horizon to bring up from behind a curve. Citation needed.
Yeah.
That's a claim that you have made. You need to support that claim. I am showing on the screen right now a refutation of that claim. Right? This is the model, and it affects the horizon. So, you can turn off refraction.
Because like this guy thinks he knows so much about geometry. Mind if I pose a question to him?
Sure. He won't answer.
Okay.
He won't answer. We know that, but because he can't.
Oh, of course.
Because he doesn't know geometry. But go ahead, ask him.
Okay. So you guys can see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me draw a triangle here.
You've already lost him.
What is wrong with this image? Let's see if he can figure out what's wrong with the diagram I just drew. Did he answer?
No. Hold on a second.
I'm wondering what the chat's saying about this. Let's see if anyone else can figure it out.
Let's see. I don't know much about geometry. Well, then why are you trying to tell us about geometry if you don't know geometry? Yeah, I mean, you're not fooling any. We know you don't understand geometry. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not a secret here. So, okay. Link to Devil's Beard's experiment. Hold on. Yeah. Let me get back here. Maybe we'll do that, and then we should wrap it up. It always gives me a link to the studio.youtube.com, so I gotta go edit the link because it doesn't work. 15 minutes. I can't do 15 minutes. Is there a place I can jump to? The norm is non-negative. Let's skip to the ending. Okay. All right. I will put it up on the screen here.
Hey then, guys. On the
All right.
All right. You can see where my feet were.
Oh, so he's got a laser
There's a setup.
on the lake there.
It is, of course, level
Laser on the lake.
and approximately.
Yeah, because that's a very
The apparatus
precise
itself is
way to measure angles.
Here, it's
using
2
a
inches.
spirit level.
To the midpoint here is, of course, another about a half an inch, giving it 2.5 inches. So, yeah.
Oh, did I miss the...
That, of course, was my position all the way over there.
He gets to the point quick, just walking around the park the rest of the time.
This one should, once again, at this point, it's just zombie killing. Alright. I'm beating a dead horse because I love the smell of broken dreams. Anyway, I've been the Bitter Devil. And, thanks for watching. We're going to touch the water, we're going to hold it there. And we're going to bring it back up. Alright. We're going to go back down again.
Yeah, I haven't
Touch the water, we're going to hold it here. And bring it up once again. Alright. Do it one more time. Touching the water. And
Nice.
bring it back up. Cool, right? Well, there's more. We have another light. This one is over 800 feet away. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to bring it down all the way. Going to touch the water. Come all the way up again. We're going to, once again, come down, touch the water, come up,
Oh, I see what he's doing. Well, that's a cool video. I'll watch the rest of it later.
and we will do it one more time. Touching the water. And bring it back up again. Okay. Well, y'all know what happens next. We're gonna go ahead and retrieve both lights. One there.
All right.
And
Well, that was in the chat. That's cool. I'll watch that. That's looks interesting. Looks pretty cool. Let me find a spot to put that. So, all right. Well, anything you want to say to wrap up?
Nope. Oh, I am tired and I got a quiz tomorrow. So
How do you have a quiz? School's out.
online classes,
I know.
and it's an online class run by a 75-year-old man who can't figure out how to disable autoplay on YouTube. So imagine how well he runs online courses. It's not very well.
Yes.
He's also very condescending because he'll give us a question that takes 45 minutes to answer, only gives us 15 minutes to submit it. And then when everyone complains about not finishing it, he goes, "It's a 15-minute question. You should have been able to finish it."
Nice.
Yeah, he's one of those. All right, well, I gotta sign off now. It's time to go to bed for me.
Yep. All right. Well,
Thanks for having me, though.
Yep. We'll be back next week. I got Bev Try Thinking, who FTFE has debated before. So he already left. So, all right. If you like the video, post a click the thumbs up and give me a comment or something. So we'll catch you again next time. Thanks. Bye.